All right, last night at the RNC, we heard from a rising star in the GOP, Madison Cawthorne, who was recently on this show, by the way. I think there's a little correlation there. Anyway, he's running for Congress in North Carolina's 11th district. And if he wins, as you may recall, he would be 25 years old, which would make him the youngest House members. We saw him deliver the speech from his wheelchair as he shared his powerful story of recovery and determination after a devastating car accident that nearly took his life back in 2014 and left him paralyzed from the waist down. Take a listen to part of this speech.
Be a radical for freedom. Be a radical for liberty. And be a radical for our republic, for which I stand, one nation under God, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, to talk about that powerful moment and some of the media reaction, let's bring in our company, Michael Knowles, host of the Michael Knowles Show, and political strategist Jessica Deloche. Great to see you both.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
All right, well, guys, I want to get your response on this because it didn't take the media too long to respond to this. We had PBS White House correspondent Yamiche Alcindor saying this. I want to pull up her tweet. Madison Cawthorne made it a point to stand, suggesting that all Americans, too, should stand during the Pledge of Allegiance and national anthem. It was a direct rebuke of actions by people, including black athletes, who are currently sitting out games protesting police brutality. Immediately, Hemingway responded to this saying, if you thought certainly nobody could attack this man in a wheelchair for standing up at the end of his speech, you haven't met our completely insane White House press corps, currently viciously attacking a paralyzed man for not sharing their far left political views. You know, I think this is interesting, Jessica, because nowhere in there is he trying to say that he's cutting down BLM. You have a, person who's paralyzed from the waist down doing something that probably took a lot of self-courage and power to actually do that moment. And people are cutting him down, not for necessarily his speech, but for his action of standing.
Yeah, so I watched his speech, and I think it took a lot of courage to say what he did. I think he means everything that he says. And I also, having a family member who's also in his same situation, I'm very sensitive to the strength it takes to get to a place where you can stand. What he is saying is that he is a person who chooses to stand when it comes to our flag and when it comes to liberty. I also would like to think that he's the type of person who respects other people's First Amendment rights if they do so choose to kneel. I think that the quote that Yamiche had tweeted out was more about the optics overall, broadly speaking, and she left herself open to being attacked for what she said, because you can draw all kinds of conclusions, and politics is a contact sport, and people are going to attack each other. I think all around it's all unfortunate because our political atmosphere is just such a negative, toxic place right now in so many ways.
It's interesting. I get all your points, Jessica, and I think you have good ones. That everyone should be expected to. It is a contact sport. But Michael, it's not like he said, "I choose not to kneel. I choose to stand." He just chose to stand, something that he can't do, obviously, that easily. I'm showing that he's proud of his country, and for him to do that himself, I think for someone to attack him on these grounds it's just kind of weak attack.
It was a wonderful moment when he stood up, and it wasn't a rebuke of anybody on the color of their skin or on what sport they play. It was a rebuke of people who do not respect our national anthem, and it was a rebuke of people who do not respect our flag. And frankly, those people should be rebuked. It is an incoherent action to use the First Amendment, which we only have because we live in this wonderful country of ours, to attack the symbol of the country itself. It doesn't make any sense. Until very, very recently, it would be utterly uncontroversial to say that one should stand for the flag and respect one's own country. Now this has become controversial, and actually that PBS reporter, I think, outed herself a little bit because she said this was disrespectful to all sorts of people, ostensibly who are protesting, police brutality or something, but really what she's showing is it's a protest of the American flag, which is a symbol of the country. It was a powerful moment as the left is tearing things down, pulling down statues, pulling down American history. This young man stood up, actually edified, built something up. I thought it was a wonderful, wonderful message.
You know what I thought was so stupid? is, well, a lot. But the thing that killed me was he wasn't making a statement. And it was like, at this point, people look for something. It's like you sit down, well, you should have been standing. You didn't, you said hello, you should have said goodbye. It's amazing how much wrong we can find in anything that someone tries to do good. It's almost like she went out of her way to do it. Anyway, I want to kind of pivot for a second, something we've been doing all week. Let me just ask you guys, and we got to just give me a name. We had a lot of people last night. Objectively speaking, there were a lot of great people up there last night. Michael Knowles, who was someone that stood out for you aside from Mike Pence?
Sister D.D. Byrne, Sister Dr. Colonel D.D. Byrne is the greatest party convention speaker in my lifetime. She had a stature and an integrity of thought and delivery and a moral clarity and a political clarity that I have never seen from any other speaker. It was magnificent.
Well, that's fantastic because she's coming right up. All right, Jessica.
How's that for a pitch?
Jessica, who did you think gave a good speech? I get you're from the other side of the aisle, but I think there were plenty of speeches that I equally, last week said during the thing, they gave a good speech during the DNC. Who do you think did a good job last night?
Well, I think it was key for people to hear from the vice president, to be able to hear the other side of things. I often think that if you don't give weight to the person who's second in command, you don't have a full picture of what an agenda is and the vision of the future. And so I always kind of lean toward that, whether I share the same political affiliation or not. I think it's important.
All right, Lindsay, give me a name.
I think Vernon Jones, we had him on earlier, but I just loved his story. I love the story that he told and his story of success, and he didn't let it get him down even when he was a failure at owning a small business.
Okay. Real quick, because literally out of time here, do you think that Trump's speech tonight is going to be a net negative or positive? Those are the only two words you can use. Michael Knowles.
Positive.
Okay. Jessica?
Negative.
Lindsay?
Hopefully positive.
Okay. I think that I expect that it will. All right, guys, thank you. We'll check back in with you to see how we did.
Good to see you.
To see you. Up next, we'll talk to Sister Deidre Bryn about her speech at the RNC last night and how she became a voice for human life.